Hello everybody, itsDair here. I hope you had a wonderful Christmas. I know I had, even though it was 2020 and it was maybe quieter than usual, but it was wonderful with my family nonetheless. Now for today I have a very first for our channel. It is the, as you probably read already, the top 5 indie games of 2020 that I played. Because I don't feel like I can give a fair assessment of games and their quality unless I've actually played them. And I pretty much only play the indie games that are on my channel, so it's not like there's a huge selection, but I do think that we hit some pretty sweet ones. Anyway, let's get going! Number 5 on the list of top indie games of 2020 that I played is Bloodroots, which was released on the 28th of February by Paper Cult Games. Bloodroots, if you followed it, was an epic, fast-paced, filled with graphical violence game in isometric style. It has this wonderful 90s Cartoon Network art style that really brought back some nostalgia for me. It was super cool. It was a simple story of revenge, as you play as the main character who is betrayed by his company of bandits, and you have to track them all down and show them what's up. And Bloodroots get the 5th pick because of its art style, but also because it was so different and fast-paced, because it was very fun in the game. The core game mechanic is that you can pick up anything in the level and use it as a weapon. That was a super cool idea, and I really love it. Now, where its downfall, I almost wanted to say, it's not that big of a downfall, but it got kind of frustrating as it progressed, because the levels required you more and more to have really precise movement and precise jumping and all that, and depth really became an issue when I played it, at least. And that's also kinda why we didn't finish it yet, but Bloodroots is actually coming to Steam in 2021, probably around the end of February, as their Epic Games Store exclusivity deal lasts for a year. And I'm thinking when that happens, we're going to finish Bloodroots. Number 4. Onwards to my 4th top pick of 2020. We have Lightmatter by Tunnel Vision Games that was released on the 25th of January and actually was my first videos of 2020. Fun fact. Now, Lightmatter is a first-person puzzler that is very reminiscent of Portal, while simultaneously not being like Portal at all. I know that sounds really weird, but it's reminiscent of Portal in the fact that it got an amazingly simple and cool core mechanic of using light and shadows, just like Portals has the portals. The thing about this is that you can touch the light, but the shadows eat you alive, basically. It got this awesome dark comic book aesthetics that really helps perpetuate this thriller-like vibe that something is really wrong in this Lightmatter facility. And along with that, the cool comic book style aesthetics, it's got a really cool and contemporary story about renewable energy and serving a cause using whatever means is necessary. And it asks a pretty cool question. I say cool, I'm saying cool a lot. It asks a really interesting question towards the end. And not only is it a very cool, I say it again, cool story, but it's also actually set in the Portal universe. The developers got in touch with Valve, who approved of the idea of having Lightmatter and Portal exist in the same universe, and there are lots of in-game references, both visually but also dialogue and all that, and they approve of everything, and it is super cool. Now, unfortunately, Tunnel Vision Games split up after actually a quite successful launch. They figured that at the moment game making wasn't really for them. So that was kind of sad, but I can totally respect the decision. But I was kind of looking forward to seeing the core mechanic refined in a sequel. But, you know, maybe it'll happen. Portal got a sequel after like, I don't know, 8 years or something like that. Onwards to the next one. Number 3. And for the third place of my top 5 indie games of 2020, we got the Procession to Calvary. Launched on the 9th of April, this game is the only one being made by a solo developer, which is basically indie games at its core, right? It's a point-and-click adventure. It was a sequel to Four Last Things. And the most striking feature of the Procession to Calvary, just as Four Last Things, is the insane and insanely amazing aesthetics, where every piece of graphic is from Renaissance painting, and not only that, but every piece of music is from the same time period. And with this amazing aesthetic, it also got a super insane and funny story about taking down a religious tyrant. And, well, of course, you can't have a good point-and-click adventure game if you don't have really clever and awesome puzzles. And, you know, the puzzles that just the right amount of sometimes very logical, almost too logical, and sometimes mind-bendingly clever and fourth wall breaking. And not only are the puzzles clever and very, very well done, Joe Richardson has given the opportunity for the player to choose for themselves if they wanna figure out the puzzles if they're stuck, or they simply just want to skip them. And the way he's done that is one of the best ways of including mechanics into the gameplay I've seen this year. And that is, you can simply kill whoever has proposed the puzzle to you. So if there's someone who doesn't want to let you inside a church, well, you can kill the guy who's standing guard and enter the church, for example. And that, it's cool. So cool. I should stop saying cool. And that's why the Procession to Calvary is my third place game of the year. It's just a part of amazing point-and-click adventure where everything fits together in a really funny and insane Monty Python-like, mixed with Monkey Island, mixed with other great point-and-click adventures, and served to you very nicely. In a game that actually, I felt like it could have been a little longer, because I just wanted more of this world that Joe Richardson has created. Number 2! Alright, now we get to the first and second place of my top 5 indie games of 2020 list, and it is very, very hard to pick these two who should be number 1 and 2, but I still did it anyway, and the second place is Hades. I'm sure you've heard of Hades, even if you haven't followed my channel for that long. Hades came out of early access on the 17th of September, and it is of course developed by Supergiant Games. It's a roguelike set in a Greek mythology, and it's probably the most critically acclaimed game of the year. Not just indie games, but game of the year. And as such, it was also close to reaching my number 1 spot. It's fast-paced, amazingly tight gameplay and combat that has you slicing and pummeling and shooting and ripping and tearing enemies apart until you die yourself and you have to start all over again, because it is a roguelike. However, what Hades does so well is that death doesn't feel like a punishment. It feels like a means to the end, and you gladly accept that you didn't go as far as you wanted to the first time around, and then as you feel like your progression is that you can get a little farther each time you go around, each time you learn the bosses, each time you learn the enemies, and each time you gain more power. It's got this wonderful manga-like aesthetics that I am a huge fan of. But the best part of Hades that I feel like not enough people are talking about is the story and the setting. Not just that it's Greek mythology, but the fact that Supergiant Games has created this everyday version of something as grand and epic as the Greek mythology, you know, complete with angsty teens who want to run away from home, the angry dad who never calls his family, a drunk uncle, the competitive cousin, and it's just, I find it so funny and interesting, and I wanted to know more about the relationship between the gods, because it's not an angle that we've seen before. Like, I find it so funny that you have these grand gods, even the gods have everyday family problems, and I feel like that's why Hades is so great, besides the fast-paced and fun gameplay, of course. I know we still haven't finished it, even though we followed the games for like, what, 2 years since it came out, or 1.5 years at least? No, it's been 2 years, I think. But I still do intend to have a final episode in 2021. I probably should have had it when it was released first time around, but the final episode of 2021 where we actually beat Hades, the final boss. Let's get ready for number 1! Number 1 indie game of 2020 that I played is, if you haven't guessed it now that Hades was number 2, Deep Rock Galactic. It was released on the 13th of May by Ghost Ship Games after a couple of years also in early access. And this game, Deep Rock Galactic, took me so much by surprise. It's a first-person shooter that's primarily meant for co-op, and it is the most fun I've had with the game all year. Actually so much fun that I find myself missing it and missing playing it with my friends. I've played it single player mode and that is fun on its own, but the multiplayer co-op is just so well done. Deep Rock Galactic, it's got some super intense gameplay with real horror-like elements thanks to some really great use of lighting. And I absolutely adore the low poly aesthetics. I mean, the dwarves are pretty ugly, but I think that's intended. And I've said for a very long time, if you know me and followed me on my channel and the indie game news videos I did with Stefan Nonsens, that the world needs more low poly first person shooters, and Deep Rock Galactic is a testimony to that. Now, funnily enough, there's not really much of a story in Deep Rock Galactic, which is kind of odd considering it's me who is so heavily into story and everything. The thing is, you get different kind of mission, like mining and collecting stuff, or finding and retrieving some lost gear, or defending stuff and all that. And then you sort of do it and you progress and you get stronger and you find different new things and you do more difficult stuff. And the game is really, what I feel like is one of the most impressive things about Deep Rock Galactic is that there's a great balance between the 4 classes in the game. Now, if you play Deep Rock Galactic in a party of 3 like I did, shout out to Yamahammer and Hayos. We need to play some more Deep Rock Galactic soon, guys. It feels like the class that you leave out could be very useful, but at the same time, you don't want to miss the things that the classes you actually picked brings to the table. And I feel like that's really a testimony to great game design. As I mentioned, it can be played in single player, which is super fun on its own, and I've been doing that when people weren't around for multiplayer, but the multiplayer is where it truly shines. Having to conquer really difficult challenges with a group of friends is always fun, especially when you fail. There are some great laughs to be had, and it took me so much by surprise. I remember reading that Deep Rock Galactic was going out of early access and it was really popular in the early access on Steam. And I was like, it doesn't really look like anything I want to do, but why, maybe we should try it? And it was just so fun. That's the best thing I can say. It was just so much fun. And that is why Deep Rock Galactic is my number 1 pick of indie games in 2020. So that was it, my top 5 picks of indie games for 2020 that I played. I'm going to be doing more videos in this style in the beginning of January. There are going to be a top 5 of indie games that I wish I had played in 2020, and also a top 5 indie games for 2021 that I'm looking forward to playing. So watch out for that if you like this content. I feel like this is the sort of stuff I want to do more of coming into 2021, and I hope that 2021 is a lot better in terms of pretty much everything than 2020 was. So guys, thank you for 2020. It has been a rough ride for me personally, and pretty much for everyone else due to stupid coronavirus. But I hope you enjoyed what I did. I know I enjoyed making the videos. I know I enjoyed talking to you guys in the comments and on social media. So thank you guys for being here. We hit some milestones. We are getting closer to those 1,000 subscribers. And yeah, have a happy new year. Be safe, and I'll see you in 2021.